And welcome back to OpenLine. We are talking about November is National Caregivers Month. We're here with the Tennessee Respite Coalition and Jennifer Abernathy, the Executive Director. If you want to get a hold of Jennifer, here is the number to call, 615-269-8687, or log on to tnrespite.org. We're going to continue to show you that information, so if you want to grab a pen and paper, go ahead and do it. We'll show it throughout the show. Jennifer, we were talking about Senior Companions.
Yes.
That is one service that you all help hook people up with. It really is a win-win for the caregiver, also for that companion gets to make a little money.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about how that works.
Yeah, well, it is a national service program. So the Corporation for National and Community Service, they oversee AmeriCorps and the Foster Grandparents Program. Those are probably the two more known programs. Yeah. Senior Companions is a smaller program, but it's just a wonderful program, and of course national service in any capacity is great. Yes. Just for citizens to be able to give back, feel like they're contributing and bettering the community. And with the Senior Companions program, it's a great way for a senior who may be isolated. I say senior as a volunteer, 55 and over. I don't think that's a senior, really.
Right,
but
not in today's world.
But somebody that's 55 and older that may be retiring, feeling, and they may become isolated if they didn't have this volunteer opportunity.
And a lot of retirees this day are just bored.
Yes.
And they're saying, I just want to do something. This is a great way to really, you have that maturity behind you.
Right.
To hook up with someone else who is that needs some help.
Right, right. Oh, exactly. And we, with the program, we've served many people in hospice situations for their caregivers to get respite. Also, early Alzheimer's situations is a great situation for a senior companion, because then they can come in, sit with the person all day that doesn't need medical care.
Right.
They
need company.
Yes, they need company, and making sure they don't turn on the stove or walk out of the house, kind of thing. It's just that supervision. So being a caregiver doesn't necessarily mean you're doing medical care.
Right.
It's just that responsibility for that person. So yeah, the Senior Companions program is just a wonderful, wonderful asset. And that's just in Davidson County. We're the sponsor of it, but there's other Senior Companion programs that are sponsored across the state too.
And again, through this hotline that you all have, you can kind of hook people up where they are and according to their needs, what they need, whether it is on the volunteer side or on the caregiver side.
Yes, definitely.
Perfect. Let's, we have Jeffrey on the line. Jeffrey, thank you for calling in so much today. I know you have a question for Jennifer. What is it?
Well, if a family meets the qualifications of the Tennessee Respite Coalition, how likely is this family to receive assistance from the Tennessee Respite Coalition? Is there a high influx of people applying for the Tennessee Respite help?
Oh, that's a great question. And with our funding sources, we do have limitations. Of course, our money isn't unlimited.
Right.
If we had unlimited money, we would be able to help all the caregivers. But we're always looking for different funding sources to help different populations. So realistically, it all depends on what we have available and when the person calls, and if we have some funding available to help that particular situation. Like one of our funding sources that is statewide through the Department of Mental Health has restrictions on it that serves caregivers of children under the age of 18 with a severe emotional disturbance or autism, and the household income needs to be below $40,000.
That's a lot to check off.
Exactly, exactly. So somebody calling that's caring for their mother with Alzheimer's isn't going to qualify for that funding. So we've got different pockets of funding that we can pull from that, that kind of, I call it, equate it to making a patchwork quilt across the state to hopefully cover all the caregivers at some point, but we're still looking for more funding to help more people. So Unfortunately, Jeffrey, I don't have an exact number to give you just because there's a lot going on behind the scenes as far as, making sure, matching people up with the right funding source. But I can tell you, if you call and we have a funding source available, we get you signed up right away.
And how quickly is that turnaround? If somebody qualifies, gets signed up, how fast does this process move?
Well, if somebody calls and then they get us those two pieces of documentation, the proof of income and proof of diagnosis, fairly quickly, then, and if we have a funding source, I mean, it could be within a week.
Wow, that's quick.
That people get approved and we get information out to them so that they can start using the funding.
And is this, Jeffrey, by the way, do you feel like you got your question answered to some degree? I don't want to leave you hanging. We may have lost Jeffrey. But anyway, thanks for calling in, Jeffrey. I do hope we helped. Quick turnaround. How long then would that funding last?
Well, the way we work it is we give people a bank of funds. Okay. So most of our banks are $600, and usually it's for a year, depending on when they call in the funding cycle. So they have $600. So they can go ahead and say, use that $600 all in one weekend to take a weekend respite and pay somebody to stay with their loved one over the weekend. Or we have families that use it, every Wednesday I'm going to take 2 hours for myself, and take that really regular respite time. And so that they can extend that as long as the money holds out. So
that makes a lot of sense. You really give them the decision of how to use it.
Yes. We really try and empower the caregiver to be able to have that control, since we don't specify who they hire as a respite provider. We don't specify what hours or what days that they can receive it. Caregivers really have that control to do what they need to do and use it in the times that's right for them.
Because I do want to reemphasize this. The respite is not about coming in and helping. Well, you explain it better. You can explain it better than I do, because I don't want to mess it up. So respite is
for the caregiver. It is time for the caregiver. So yes, there is, and a lot of times respite has been, lumped under services for people with disabilities or for senior citizens, just because, that's kind of the qualifying factor. And but the respite service isn't really the way we focus on it. It's not for the person needing care. That is whatever level of care they need. The part that we're concerned about and the outcomes we're looking for is the improvement in the life of the family caregiver to be able to rest and relax and do what they need to do. One of our caregivers actually uses the respite every day. She has a child with special needs, and she uses it for after school care for her child, because her child cannot walk home and stay by himself in the home for the hour or two that she's at work. Now, if she would have to leave work, she was at risk of losing her job because of that. And so we're able to help her keep her job, do what she needs to do to keep her family, safe and sound. And a lot of times I think work is sometimes respite, because it is
that
time out of that caregiving situation.
You bring up a great question, and our producer had this question too, because earlier you said one of the qualifications is that you are a full-time caregiver.
Yes.
But you said this woman works, so obviously she's living with the person who needs the care.
Yes.
But she still is able to have a job outside the house, that sort of thing. So it's not, you don't have to be there 24/7.
Right. The thing, and especially with the children with disabilities and that kind of thing, those children still go to school.
Sure.
So so while the children are in school, they're still being cared for. But when they come home, they wouldn't be able to be left unsupervised because of their disability.
Okay, good. Well, hopefully that just opened the door for a lot of people out there listening.
Yeah.
Oh wait, maybe I do qualify for this. Maybe I can get some help.
Yeah.
We have Linda on the phone. Linda, thank you for calling in to OpenLine tonight. Go ahead with your question.
Yes, my husband actually receives services through Choices, which actually sends a tech out so many hours a week to help out. And then also I have so many respite hours that I can use, as you stated, for the caregiver, to get out. So in the services that are available, since he's already getting like Choices and those texts coming in, are we still eligible to get like the companion if there was a neighbor or something, down the road, or friend that, we'd like to come in sometime where I could just get out and run errands and things like that? Or is it because we're tied into the other program?
No, we look at respite for family caregivers as being there's never enough, and obviously it's not going to be, the end-all be-all of all the time that everybody will need. So even though somebody does have Choices and does have some of, availability of that, we still take that, take their applications and see if we have some funding available. So yes, you would still be eligible.
So Linda, you need to call the number. We're going to show it to you again before we go to break, okay?
Okay, well, I greatly appreciate it. A lot of times, like I said, I have the hours or something happens with the staff can't come, and so I can't make plans, or if I'm trying to get something scheduled, I feel like I have to be here, and then I just put that aside and say, well, I can't leave, and then the guilt comes in as well. So it's really hard.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you do have Choices and are able to utilize that to take care of yourself. That's the most important thing.
Now, I have one other question. Now, the people that say the companionship that comes in to help out, and then the funding that would pay them, is that considered, is that income that they file or have to do, or how does that work?
No, the stipends for the senior companion is not considered income if they're receiving assistance for housing or food stamps or anything, because it's such a minimal amount. And according with the legislation that created the AmeriCorps and Senior Corps programs, it's not considered income and not counted against the volunteer.
Oh, well, that's great. Okay, well, thank you so much.
Linda,
You're very
thank you for
welcome.
watching, and best of luck to you. Happy early Thanksgiving to you.
Well, thank you, y'all, too.
Thank you.
All right, well, good. Well, I feel like we're helping people, and that's what we're here to do tonight. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more of your questions, hopefully. Go ahead and give us a call if you have one, and we'll be talking more about respite care. Come back.